Politics is changing fast and every decision shapes our future. In today's video, we're breaking down the latest headlines, the key players, and what it all means for you. Whether you're here to stay informed or spark debate, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. President Trump has announced a new initiative aimed at returning savings from government budget cuts directly to the American people. According to his proposal, 20% of these savings would be given to taxpayers in the form of a refund or dividend, while another 20% would be allocated to reducing the national debt. However, the specifics of the plan remain vague, leaving economists and policymakers skeptical about its feasibility. Critics argue that without clear cost-cutting measures, such a refund could place additional strain on government finances, potentially increasing deficits rather than reducing them. At the same time, Trump's administration is pursuing substantial reductions in military spending, with a proposed 8% annual cut in Pentagon funding over the next 5 years. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has been tasked with identifying ways to implement these cuts, a move that has sparked concerns among defense officials who worry about its impact on military readiness. The proposed reductions contrast sharply with recent discussions in Congress, where some lawmakers are advocating for an additional $150 billion in defense funding. The competing budget priorities have deepened divisions within the Republican Party. While fiscal conservatives support trimming military spending to curb government expenditures, defense hawks argue that maintaining a strong military presence is essential to national security. Trump's preference for the House budget proposal over the Senate's has further complicated negotiations, as Republican lawmakers struggle to reconcile their differences. In a surprise decision, President Trump has intervened to cancel New York's congestion pricing plan, a move that has sparked widespread debate about federal overreach and executive authority. The congestion pricing plan, which aimed to reduce traffic congestion in Manhattan by charging vehicles a fee to enter certain areas, had already been approved at the state and local levels. However, Trump's direct intervention overruled the initiative, a decision he celebrated on social media with a bold statement. "Congestion pricing is dead. Manhattan and all of New York is saved. Long live the king." The move has been met with mixed reactions. Supporters, including many of Trump's conservative allies, argue that congestion pricing would have placed an undue financial burden on commuters and small businesses. They see Trump's decision as a victory against what they view as excessive taxation and government overreach. On the other hand, critics argue that Trump's intervention contradicts traditional Republican principles of states' rights and local governance. Many see it as an example of expanding executive power, raising concerns about the broader implications for state autonomy. Trump's use of social media to frame the decision in a triumphant, almost monarchic tone has also drawn attention. His phrase, "Long live the king," has fueled discussions about his governing style, with some commentators suggesting that he is increasingly embracing an authoritarian image. This follows other controversial remarks from Trump in which he suggested that breaking the law could be justified if it served the country's interests, statements that have raised alarms among legal experts and political analysts. China is rapidly cementing its status as a global leader in technology, with its advancements spanning artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, renewable energy, and drones. The country's rise in these sectors has placed it in direct competition with the United States, raising concerns about technological dominance and economic influence. One of the latest examples of China's AI growth is the emergence of DeepSeek, a powerful chatbot that rivals American AI models. This development is part of China's broader push to establish itself as a leader in artificial intelligence, an industry that is expected to define future global power dynamics. Beyond AI, China has become the world's largest producer of electric vehicles, surpassing traditional automotive giants such as the United States, Germany, and Japan. Companies like BYD, NIO, and XPeng are driving this expansion, benefiting from China's near monopoly on battery production. The country currently controls 80 to 95% of the global supply chain for lithium-ion batteries, a crucial component of electric vehicles. This dominance gives China a significant advantage in shaping the future of the auto industry, making it a major competitor to Tesla and other Western car manufacturers. China's influence extends even further into the renewable energy sector. The country is now the undisputed leader in solar panel production, controlling approximately 85% of the global market. Through massive government investments, China has built a renewable energy infrastructure that far surpasses that of any other nation. The shift towards sustainable energy aligns with China's long-term economic strategy, reducing reliance on foreign energy sources while positioning itself as the dominant player in the global green economy. U.S. President Donald Trump has indicated that his administration may soon announce a 25% tariff on foreign car imports, with a decision expected by April 2nd. This potential move raises significant concerns for Canada's auto industry, which relies heavily on exports to the United States. Canada's ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman, emphasized that the two nations have long worked to maintain a competitive and integrated auto sector under the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, or CUSMA. She highlighted discussions between the Canadian government and U.S. officials about ensuring North America's supply chains remain strong, particularly by preventing certain Chinese auto parts from entering the market. Hillman remains hopeful that ongoing diplomatic efforts will mitigate any adverse impact on the Canadian auto industry. If imposed, the tariffs could significantly impact Canadian manufacturers, particularly in Ontario, where the auto sector employs thousands. Industry experts warn that the additional costs could be passed on to consumers, leading to higher vehicle prices in both Canada and the U.S. Automakers and suppliers are closely watching the situation, urging both governments to seek alternative solutions that would not disrupt the well-established cross-border trade. In addition to potential auto tariffs, Canada is bracing for two other tariff measures from the U.S. set to take effect in March. A blanket 25% tariff on all Canadian goods entering the U.S. is expected to be enforced on March 4th, while an additional 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports is scheduled for March 12th. These combined tariffs could effectively double costs for Canadian metal exports. Canada has been actively lobbying against these tariffs, arguing that they would harm American consumers and businesses by increasing prices and reducing competitiveness. Ambassador Hillman has pointed to Canada's long-standing economic cooperation with the U.S. and ongoing efforts to address American concerns, including border security and the fight against fentanyl trafficking. Experts warn that these tariffs could have far-reaching consequences, not only affecting Canadian industries, but also disrupting supply chains for American manufacturers that rely on Canadian materials. Business leaders on both sides of the border are voicing their concerns, with some U.S. companies urging the Biden administration to reconsider the tariffs in order to prevent economic strain on industries that depend on Canadian imports. As the March deadlines for new tariffs approach, Canadian officials are engaged in high-level discussions with the Biden administration to seek relief. U.S. officials, including Trump's economic advisor Kevin Hassett, have acknowledged Canada's recent efforts to strengthen border security and combat fentanyl smuggling, two issues linked to the March 4th tariff deadline. Hillman stated that the Canadian government is committed to demonstrating progress in these areas, which may influence the U.S. decision on whether to grant Canada an extension or exemption. However, she also noted that the Trump administration views tariffs as a strategic tool for multiple purposes, including trade leverage and economic protectionism. The outcome remains uncertain, but Canadian officials are hopeful that their proactive approach will yield positive results. Political analysts suggest that Canada's diplomatic approach will be critical in determining the final outcome. While some progress has been made in addressing U.S. concerns, there remains a risk that domestic political considerations in the U.S. could override diplomatic negotiations. Canadian trade representatives are continuing their efforts to secure exemptions, emphasizing the mutual economic benefits of a stable trade relationship. As tensions over tariffs escalate, some Canadian officials, including Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, are calling for a stronger response. Freeland has urged the Canadian government to prepare a list of American goods that could face retaliatory tariffs, a move aimed at pressuring the U.S. administration to reconsider its actions. Ambassador Hillman, while emphasizing Canada's need to stand firm, warned against escalating rhetoric that could damage diplomatic relations. She stressed the importance of finding a balanced approach, demonstrating national strength while seeking a mutually beneficial resolution with the U.S. Meanwhile, growing frustrations over trade policies have spilled into public sentiment, with some Canadian hockey fans expressing their displeasure by booing the American national anthem at recent games. Hillman acknowledged these reactions but emphasized that diplomatic engagement remains Canada's primary strategy to navigate the ongoing trade dispute. Canadian businesses and trade groups are also weighing in, with some advocating for targeted retaliation that would minimize economic harm while maximizing political pressure. Some suggest imposing tariffs on key U.S. exports, such as agricultural products, in order to gain leverage in negotiations. As discussions continue, both governments remain under pressure to find a resolution that avoids a full-blown trade war. That's it for today's deep dive into the latest political developments. Whether you agree or disagree, the conversation doesn't stop here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll see you in the next one. Let me know if you want a different tone, more serious, engaging, or even humorous.